On this edition of the American Landscape, we're in Las Vegas, Nevada and the surrounding areas. I'm on a quest to find things that are family friendly in Las Vegas, and it sure ain't the Strip. We're going to look at railway museums, car museums, and we might have to do a little work for our last interview. So come along and enjoy the show. Hi, I'm Greg Nutt, and welcome to the American Landscape. Well, I'm on my way to see Gary Patterson at Shelby American, and it's just 14 miles from downtown Las Vegas, 2.5 miles from the Luxor Resort, and 24 miles from Boulder City, Nevada. Gary?
Hey, Greg.
Hey, nice to meet you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here at Shelby American.
Can you give us a really quick synopsis of who Carroll Shelby is?
Well, Carroll, Greg, was really an icon. He is the only man in history to ever win world championships as a driver, as a team leader, and as a manufacturer. The only man to ever do that. In the 50s, he was a very accomplished race car driver and drove for Aston Martin, actually won the 24 Hours of Le Mans. They actually, he drove many cars, MGs and all kinds of things, and whatever he seemed to drive, he seemed to win. So, a remarkable career that Carroll had, really capped by the fact that, he was diagnosed with a heart condition. And in 1960, the doctor said, gotta quit driving with those nitro pills under the tongue if you want to stay alive. And oh, by the way, your career is over. You might have 5 years to live. And Carroll lived 52 more years. And during that time, he not only, he ended his racing career, but he began the company that built the Shelby Cobra that went on to win the World Manufacturers Championship in the GT class in 1965, and then went on to help Ford Motor Company take Ferrari off the podium in 1966 and win the overall at Le Mans. And Carroll, when he couldn't race anymore, with his background, he'd run into the AC car company over in England and thought, boy, if he could take that chassis and marry it with an American V8, that would be remarkable. So it was a power to weight ratio that was very favorable. And if you look at this car, the very first Cobra ever built, very iconic piece, the 260 Ford V8 sat way behind the center line of the front axle. So this car was actually very balanced in addition to being light in weight, and that helped it win those championships. And then with his, racing success, that also led on to Lee Iacocca going to Carroll Shelby and saying, hey, I've got this new Mustang, can you make that car a champion? And Carroll did. And they won the B Production National Championship with a Mustang, a GT350 Mustang, in 1965, 66, and 67. So these are actually built from the original designs with a few more modern components, better, Heim joints and things like that, and steering rack. But largely the chassis, the suspension still works the same and still has the same flavor and feel that it did in the 1960s, but with brand new components, and then you put your powertrain in. And we can help you with that as well, but we don't do the installations here because then we'd have to crash and pass emissions. But it's virtually, you buy this thing, you get those things done, and you can bring yourself back into that period of time.
So if I pop that hood open, there's nothing under there?
There's nothing under the hood. We offer in fiberglass and aluminum, but understand the chassis and everything is the original design chassis. So it's really, when you drive one, and I've driven plenty of originals that were built in the 60s, and then the ones that we continue to build today, the look and the feel of the car is very, very much the same.
And what's the chrome vehicles?
They look chrome because they're really, really shiny. What that really is, Greg, is that's polished aluminum.
Really?
So it's an aluminum body, but instead of painting it, there's actually about 400 hours in the Roadsters and even more in the Coupes where it takes to sand that down and continually polish with machines and then eventually by hand to get that luster chrome looking appearance.
So some of these here that would be painted, they started looking maybe a duller version of what's back
very
there,
dull.
Right?
So it's like almost a graded, aluminum, very grind kind of look, because it's aluminum. When you do an aluminum bodied car, it's actually many smaller parts, and then they're welded together. Those welds are then ground down or filed down until it has a nice shape to it, and it's hand rolled with a English wheel or something like that, or press form. But either way, yeah, that's really a work of art that you just don't see much of anymore.
I can't say that I've seen a lot of coupes. So there's 2 coupes here. Was that a common option in that vehicle, or?
Absolutely not. So the coupe was in 1964. Peter Brock designed the Daytona Coupe, and Peter worked for Carroll Shelby at the time. So he took the body, the frame that the original 289 cars were. So it's a 3-inch round tube with a leaf spring suspension. And what they found was, over in Europe, when they took the Cobras out on the short tracks, they could win against the Ferraris, the Ferrari GTOs, but they could not stay with them on the long straights at like Mulsanne and Le Mans. So Peter designed this coupe body that was much more aerodynamic and gave it about 30 miles an hour more top speed. Wow. And so it took it from not being competitive because of the long straights to being real competitive, and in fact, not just competitive, but a champion.
Wow, so just that little bit of open cockpit, if you will, is just enough drag that made that big of a difference? But
Greg, it was much more than that, okay? It wasn't just the open cockpit. When you look at the airflow on a Daytona Coupe, and we can go and really look at it, air comes in through the nose like they do with almost any car, okay? Because you need that for the cooling. But instead of it packing up in the engine compartment and not being able to go up or out, it goes down and out the bottom of the car, which creates lift and a lot of drag, right? On the Daytona Coupe, that air goes through the radiator and immediately, almost as a wing, comes out over the nose, which keeps the front end down, gets that air flowing nice and cleanly over the car. And then with the fastback version, and then that cam back in the back, that car was very efficient going through the air.
Wow.
So it was really revolutionary, and they only built 6 of them back in the day. The Shelby Mustang legacy started with that white car with the blue stripes, GT350, and that was the icon that most people associate with the beginning of the Shelby Mustangs. And for a lot of people, that's what a Shelby was. And in 1965, you could get any color you wanted as long as it was white. And some of them had stripes. Some of them had stripes over the top. All of them had the side stripe.
So Gary, we had a great tour. We had a lot of cars. We're back here where it all started. But I'm hearing a lot of like air guns and compressors, and I'm seeing vehicles being assembled. So what exactly do you still make here in the plant for Shelby?
So what we do is we convert both Mustang-based vehicles and trucks.
Trucks, really?
Trucks are actually most of our business now.
Really?
So it's really remarkable. And we don't just put on stickers and scoops. It's wheels, tires, brakes, suspension. We put a lot of content in the car. The front fascias will all change. The hoods will all change on the Mustangs. So it's fabulous. And the trucks, we do a lot of the same kind of modifications to those too. So it's a whole lot more than just stickers and scoops.
So even a Ford Raptor, which is like kind of the epitome of Ford.
Great truck.
You'll still improve on that?
Absolutely. So Fox makes the shocks for that right from the factory, but they make better ones that we put on later. Carroll always said performance is my business. He didn't say it had to be cars. So we do a lot of trucks out there too.
That's awesome. Gary, I appreciate the tour. It was amazing. It's a wonderful place, and I hope all our followers come visit. It's here in Las Vegas, easy to find right off the freeway.
So Las Vegas Boulevard and Sunset is the big cross street, but stay on the east side of the freeway.
Okay. And just to recap, basically 9 to 6 Monday through Friday?
Yeah, so 9:30 to 6, Monday through Friday, and then we've got some weekend hours. It's more like 9 to 6 on Saturday, but like 10 to 4 on Sunday.
Okay, and no admission charge?
No admission charge. Free tour Monday through Friday, 10:30 and 1:30, and just 10:30 on Saturday. No tour on Sunday, but we encourage everybody to exit through the gift shop.
Awesome. Well,
picks up a collectible.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
it. I really did have a great time at Shelby American. Now we're on to Boulder City and the Nevada State Railroad Museum, which is just 8 miles from the Hoover Dam, 25 miles from downtown Las Vegas, and 77 miles from Laughlin, Nevada. I'm at the Nevada State Railroad Museum, and I'm here to see Randy, and I was told he'd be here somewhere in the barn, probably knee-deep in our project. So we're going to find him and find out what there is here at this museum. Randy, you back there?
I'm back here.
I was told you're probably knee-deep in a project doing something back here, so.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Greg.
Hi, I'm Randy.
Nice to meet
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
So you're
well, welcome to the museum.
Oh, thank you. So you're the director of the museum?
I'm the director of the museum.
And it looks like you get your
Occasionally,
hands
I get
dirty
my hands
too.
dirty, yes.
All right, that's good.
Occasional pipe fitting.
Awesome. So what are we going to see here at the museum today?
Well, so we're going to, right now you're in our shop.
Okay.
This is not normally public, although we do bring the public in for tours, but this is where we maintain and rebuild and restore railroad equipment.
Awesome.
So it's anything from routine air brake tests. This car is getting reconditioned to serve as a bicycle car in our train because we parallel a bike path. So
nice.
We're going to be able to haul bicycles. We've got the narrow gauge passenger car that's being built here, and outside we have a couple of diesel locomotives in for service.
Awesome. Can we go see one of those right now?
Absolutely.
All right.
Come on, this way. So this, surprisingly, is one of the most important artifacts we have. This is a 1939 first diesel, conventional diesel freight locomotive, a switcher. This locomotive was built by Electromotive Corporation, which was by then a subsidiary of General Motors. This was the demonstrator. This is an end cab switcher. And they built them in 600 and 900 horsepower. This is the demonstrator for the NW2, which was actually 1,000 horsepower.
Wow. Diesel electric.
Diesel electric. Yeah. So this is before the war. They're trying this. They're going to buy steam engines for another 6 years.
Really?
Yeah. Continue to buy steam engines after buying this. We'll continue to buy diesels. And then this is 1939. By 1959, they are out of the steam engine business.
Everything that's out here that's rolling stock that
is standard gauge.
Is standard gauge. Yeah. And it is that 4 feet?
4 feet, 8.5 inches.
Wow, someone really chose that extra half inch. I'm sure there's a reason.
The best, well, basically the first railroad that we consider in England was built to that.
Okay.
And what there's a belief is that would be 5 foot over the outside edge of the rails.
Oh, okay, so 4.5 to the inside, 5.
Yeah, roughly. And that's one option. The other, the traditional story is that this is the same as the wheels on a Roman chariot.
I've heard that.
Well, and it actually, there's some truth to it. There's less truth than we impart to the story.
Okay.
So we initially didn't have a standard. So the British, Stephenson invents the steam locomotive. He's using 4 foot 8.5, so lots of people mimic him. But equally, some people tried 5 foot.
So the Transcontinental Railroad.
4 foot 8.5.
4 foot, so it's standard.
It was. The Pacific Railroad Act is passed in December of 1862. It said that Lincoln, who was a railroad lawyer, would choose a track gauge. He chose 5 foot.
I read somewhere that prior to a lot of our train systems building up, time in, let's say, Washington, D.C. could have been 2 o'clock, but by the time you got to Boston, it might be 2:10, but it took you an hour to get there. There was really no standard.
There wasn't, and there wasn't a need.
But the railroad caused
the railroad
need,
had a need.
Or had.
So if you think about living in use Boston, Boston was only probably 30 or 40,000 people, maybe 100,000 people in 1850. So if it was time to go to church, the church rang a bell. If it was, you looked up, the sun is up at the high, that's noon, And so you didn't have the need for time. The railroad was the first institution that needed time. The train is going to leave at 10 o'clock. You need to be there before 10 o'clock or the train will not be there when you get there. And then separately, the train had the need for time so that it could dispatch trains. Here in this place, it's the 1920s, they're going to build Hoover Dam, largest project up to that time in the U.S. history. The first thing they do in 1928, they have a groundbreaking. They have not let the contract for the dam yet, but they have Union Pacific build a railroad line from the main line in Las Vegas up to this place. That's what our museum is. It's the Boulder City Union Pacific branch. And then from that, they built 10 miles to the future, top of the dam.
This is a really nice shop. You've got a lot of stuff, but you've got some bigger stuff to show us,
I've got
don't
some
you?
stuff out there. Yeah, let's go up to the platform and see our railroad.
Cool. So we moved over undercover, and I don't know if you can hear it behind us, an unseasonable rain
yes.
shower.
Yeah, no, this kind of rain occasionally in summer with the summer monsoons. We're near Las Vegas, so we share weather with Las Vegas. So to our displays, our outdoor displays, and we're in the pavilion right now. They're free. We're open 7 days a week from 9 o'clock to 3:30. Frequently longer. If we're here, we leave it open.
Okay.
We offer train rides on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. We charge for those. $10 for 12 and up. 4 to 12 is $5, and under 4 is free.
Okay, so we've got some big stock here. Is there anything really important to history here?
Yeah, they're actually...
I mean, everything's important, but
everything
some
is.
highlights. Big
They
highlights.
are. So even... We've got 2 locomotives here from the Jackass and Western Railroad. And that was on the test site. And they were actually building the Mars rocket. It was a nuclear-powered rocket. They would assemble it and fuel it.
Is it this one here?
No, it's the yellow one there and down at the end of the building.
Okay, do we need to step any further back? Are they radiated or anything?
No, actually that one we had to wait 5 years or 10 years before we could move it. Because it did test hot.
Did it? Wow.
And then, but that'll solve itself.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's an example. So we have the 2 locomotives that built the Mars rocket. Behind me, the red passenger car, this is Ellesmere. It's a recent acquisition. Ellesmere was built in 1899. And it was built by a member of the Vanderbilt family. He was running the Vanderbilt Railroad car shop. It was the last car that shop built before that was sold to Pullman. And it is just spectacular inside. This car is half baggage, half postal car.
Okay.
It's Railway Express Agency. Before we had Amazon, we had the Sears Roebuck catalog.
Yeah.
You didn't do email. You wrote a letter saying, I would like a number 1402 for $3 and a 50-cent shipping. And Sears would pack that up and it would arrive at the railroad depot, and the Railway Express Agency in their wagon would take it to your house. So let's take a look at what a railroad post office looks like. So a car like this particular car ran primarily from Ogden to Portland. Be real typical, probably a 3-man crew. They would basically lock themselves in here. They were all armed because at that time, registered mail was how you sent valuables.
Okay.
So the car has a safe. Okay, and they were guarding that safe. They were required to both to have a handgun and to be proficient. So they'd catch a bag of mail immediately, sorting, bagging. They were deciphering addresses. Wow. And they were expected to know all the stations along their route and be able to figure out when somebody used a funny name for somebody. They would try. It was for them an honor to figure out a difficult address.
So it looks like we're about wound up here. We're at the depot. And
we're at the platform. This is where you get on your train. So this once was a 7-track freight yard. This is where all the material to build Boulder Dam, Hoover Dam came through this. Today, it's where we have our ticket office, our depot store. Locomotive 844 is our primary locomotive. That's a 1962 high-speed freight locomotive.
Wow. And that's what people can actually ride here.
They're going to ride. They can. In fact, we let people drive that one.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, we have an engineer for an hour program. So it's $250, and you can run. And it's 2,500 horsepower turbocharged General Motors diesel.
And how far do you get to go?
You get to go about 5 miles.
That's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. So our regular trains on Saturday and Sunday leave here. They go down to Railroad Pass. to the west, that's the pass that separates Boulder City from the Las Vegas Valley. The displays are free.
Okay.
You know, we are in the process of building a new museum. So we have plans for a visitor center, 9,000 square feet. We'll have an enclosed display building, so we'll be able to have some of the more fragile pieces that can't be on display now.
And then I noticed some signs about some children areas for them
We
to
have,
play. So.
you know, we know that our core audience is a 6-year-old child who brings his parents. Okay, I mean, we're aware of that, and we try to make sure that we always are child-friendly. We actually have a quiet car for people with autism on the train. We try to commit the train's ADA compliant. We've got it's a really nice place to come and take a little train ride, see some antique trains.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate it.
I thank you.
I really loved our time here today. It's a great experience.
Yeah.
Randy handed us off to Michelle, Rail Explorers, right? So thank you for having us.
Thank you, Greg.
Now, am I going to have to work for this interview?
A little bit. There's going to be some pedaling involved.
Okay.
But we're going to be in these really cool pedal-powered rail vehicles.
Awesome.
And we're going to be riding about 4.5 miles of track.
Okay. It's a lot of fun, right?
It is a blast.
Okay.
Yes. So we're located in Boulder City, Nevada. We are right at the railway station. So we work right next to Randy, and right behind us is the museum with the trains.
Okay, and we're doing the sunset cruise,
Yes.
if you will. All right.
Yep. So we're going to be riding off into the sunset.
That's
We'll watch
awesome.
the sunset behind the river mountains behind us.
All right. Well,
All right, cool.
lead us on.
Yes. Let's get seated. Now we get to pedal.
Oh, wow.
And we're off. So this one weighs like 800. Actually, this is our heaviest one. This one's almost about 900 pounds.
Wow.
It's a new model. And as you can tell, it just goes really easily.
Oh, it sure does.
So we're going to go a little slow through here just so the gates come down. Slow down just a bit.
So who thought of this? Who says, I'm going to make people work for this experience? Where's the concept come from?
Yes, so our owners, they're a husband and wife couple. They lived in Brooklyn, New York for a while, but they're originally from Australia. They were living in Australia, and she saw this on a Korean soap opera. And it was, she saw this for it was like a 3-second clip of these people riding these bikes off into the sunset on the railroad tracks. So like 2 weeks later, she was in South Korea where they have rail parks. It's an old mining area, and they use the bikes. So they'll have like 100, 150 of these bikes just going out all the time.
Wow.
So it was her idea, and then she brought them to the East Coast, and then Las Vegas we started last year.
So where else besides Vegas?
So we run in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, and in the Catskill Mountains, New York.
Very cool.
Pretty nice. Basically, we're just coasting right now. Randy probably told you that. So this rail was built for the dam, when they built the Hoover Dam. So it's actually the newest piece of track that we run on.
Oh, okay.
It's about almost 100 years old.
Right through the switch.
Yeah, right through the switch. So they're each on their own individual freewheel. So if I had my Nana with me or something and she didn't want to pedal, she could just put her feet down.
Oh,
and they're not
nice.
going to spin, which is really nice. Other than that,
So whatever pace you want to feel like given to the effort.
yes, it's always helpful if everyone pedals.
Yeah. So are there any limitations to who you allow to come out and pedal?
Nope, so we have no age restrictions and no age limits. So we've had riders as young, infants, they can be worn in like a harness on the parent. But we also have toddler seats. So a toddler can sit in the seat. It's like a 5-point harness.
That's cool.
And then we also have elderly riders too, or people with limited mobility. We've had riders that actually couldn't even bend their legs. We were able to just kind of put their feet up and then we pedaled with them. And when people call and ask if they could fit on the ride, like we make sure that anything can happen. We'll make anything happen. Whether they sit for the ride or they we'll pedal them along and things like that.
So around this corner, we're going to have to really work for our interview, right?
We're gonna yeah. Kind of levels off and then it's just a small incline.
Whew, that was some work going up there.
That was a little bit of work. So our picnic area is actually right up here on the right. So that's where we stop. New rail was put in right at that corner up here. So that's why we stop here. We created this picnic area last year.
Oh, okay.
And then once we get permission, we're going to go over the bridge. We'll stop on the other side, and then you can see Las Vegas. All right, so we are going to... We push the bikes up so the train comes right here. We can brake right here. Nice.
We made it.
We made it. Woohoo!
Boy,
Awesome.
that's the most I've worked for an interview. So
Although-
once we pedaled up here, we stay here for half hour, 40 minutes, something like that?
Something like that, right till the
Okay.
train comes.
Okay, for whenever they get around to showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So all the bikes actually too, they have a GPS on them. Not this one, but the last bike does. So once the bike that has the GPS crosses a line, it sends a signal to us that says it's clear for the train to go through.
Okay. And then these are the bars that hook them all together to be pulled back?
Yeah. So we just couple them. Actually, we'll couple
What
this
you want?
bike up to.
There, she's getting more work out of me.
Yeah.
It's much easier this way. It's one of the-
Pushing them.
So we've just pedaled out 4 miles or so on the rails. Now we get the easy ride back up here with the engineer. He can't talk to us. He's got to pay attention to what he's doing and be in contact with the home. After that 4.5 mile pedal, we got to go back with the engineer, which was very interesting and very cool. The rest of the guests who were out there pedaling rode in a car all together with Michelle, who was a great host. So as you can see, there's a lot more to do in Las Vegas than just the Strip. So until our next show, safe travels, and I hope I see you out there on the American landscape.
One of the great things about this car is this little detail. So if the car had stopped, you could walk up and mail a letter.